The number one thing that beekeepers tell me is the most challenging and the most frustrating is, well, why don't you tell me? What do you think? See if I'm right. I'm hearing from beekeepers. In fact, over the last few decades, I hear from beekeepers that I help teach and I love working with. And I keep hearing them telling me over and over again how frustrated they are that they can't find eggs. They can't see eggs. And that's one of the most important things that we tell people when you're inspecting a hive. We say it's not as important that you find the queen as it is that you find evidence of the queen by looking for eggs in your hive. And so there you are, you're out on a hot summer day, right? We're out there, it's sweaty, it's hot, we've got a bee suit on. So we're looking through this mesh of a black screen with the sun in our eyes, sweat in our eyes, and we're trying to see these teeny tiny little eggs to verify all is right in the world. It's so frustrating and it's so challenging. It's like, I gotta see the eggs. Where are they? Please let me see eggs. And I've worked with a lot of beekeepers and been in the hive with them and have noticed that when they say there are no eggs, I don't see any eggs, I pick up the frame and then I say, it's nothing but eggs. And then that makes them more frustrated. It's like, David, you're killing me. How did you see them and I didn't? So today I want to share with you guys my tips and tricks on how you find eggs. I've already established why it's so important because in my last video, the second most discouraging thing, and I'll leave a link at the end of this video to take you there if you haven't seen it yet, but the second most challenging thing is finding your queen. And so if you don't find eggs, then you wonder about the queen. So we have to be able to see eggs. So the first thing that I want to share, the first tip is you have to know what you're looking for. A lot of people that are brand new to beekeeping and some people that have kept bees a while just don't really know what the eggs look like. They don't really have this, the vision, the image of what to look for. And so I'm going to put an image right here, right in front of you. Look at this. Maybe I'll try to find several images, but these are eggs that you see in a hive. They're in the back of the cell, what we call the back of the cell. It's kind of like the bottom, but technically it's not the bottom. But the back of the cell here, you'll see these eggs. Now the eggs tell a huge story. Really, they do. The timing of the eggs is so important because if you look at these eggs, you'll see that some of them are practically standing straight up. But if you go into your hive, sometimes you'll see that the eggs are slightly starting to bend over. And on day 3, when the egg goes into the larvae stage, then that egg is actually on the bottom or the back of the cell there, laying down on the cell. And it's actually turns into a larva and they start feeding it royal jelly. For 3 days, that egg is going to be somewhere like this, day 1, day 2, and then day 3, the larva stage. So when you're looking for eggs, that's the cue for you to know the condition of your queen. You can say the eggs are straight up. She was right here. Now, so you got to know what you're looking for. That's the first tip. Let's jump right into the second tip. Now that you know what to see, what to look for, the second tip is going to be huge for you guys. And that is always try to use black foundation. If you're somebody that uses plastic foundation, which I've used for decades and I love it, the dark black foundation is so easy to see the eggs. And that's what I'm showing you this image right here. It's black foundation. And let me see if I can find a foundation of the typical yellow wax foundation. But on a yellow wax foundation, the egg is almost the same color as the foundation. And so it makes it much harder to see. Not impossible for the trained eye and the experienced beekeeper, but for those of you that are frustrated over the number one challenge in beekeeping, is if you use the same color foundation as the egg, it's really hard to find it. So especially if you can at least buy 2 or 3 or 5 frames that are black and put those in the middle where the brood area is, you're going to see eggs so much more easier. And you're going to thank me for telling you that. And you're going to love me for it. You really are. Now, I have 4 more tips to share with you on how to find your eggs in your hive. But before I do, I want to tell you guys, hey, Beak Squad is tonight. If you're watching this video the day it's published, Beak Squad are the people that follow me on my live stream and we have a good time, 7 p.m. Central Time. Tonight I'm going to be talking about November tips, things that you should be doing in the month of November. We've got giveaways planned. I have a question and answer time when you can finally ask me the question that you've been dying to ask me. So I'll leave a link right here. Click on that link. It will show you how to join me on my live stream tonight. Now let's get back in for the next 4 tips. Well, the third thing is when you're trying to find the eggs, you need to be able to sometimes remove the bees off of the frame, because the bees cover up the cells and you can't see down into them. And so you've got to be able to remove the bees. Now, I've always taught people not to blow on bees, and here's why I've taught that. Number one, I teach it because somebody told me that. I mean, after all, isn't that how we all do beekeeping? Well, somebody told me and I'm passing it on. But then their reasoning behind it, they told me, was that if a bear starts attacking a hive, the bear is going to be breathing out his air from his lungs onto those frames, which signals to the bees that we're being attacked by a creature. And it made sense to me. I was like, well, I don't want to blow on bees because I think I'm attacking them. However, I have tested this out and I've blown on bees and I've not really seen a big difference. But one time I was working in a hive many years ago with another person, training them how to be a beekeeper. And to remove bees, he blew on a frame, a brood frame with bees on it. And the bees were so upset and they just stung him so quickly. So that was validation. That's all I needed. I was like, okay, I'm not going to blow on bees. No, I'm not going to do that. When I can very easily just take my finger or a little bee brush and I can move them around. Bees don't really care about my fingers. If I'm moving bees around with my fingers or my hands, they just don't care about that. You know, they're used to being bumped into by other bees. So I kind of like using my finger. But the point is, you're not going to see any eggs unless you get the bees out of the way to look down in the cell. Maybe a magnifying glass might help bobblehead David see a little better, or maybe you can see him better. This is probably the first time that some of you have seen bobblehead David. Sherry had this made for me, and it's supposed to look like me. I leave sunglasses on because the camera will focus on his eyes and not me, but he's holding a sign or has a sign in front of him asking you guys to please subscribe. We just hit 156,000 subscribers. Thank you very much. Got some silver play buttons back there once you hit 100,000. Appreciate it. Please subscribe so you'll be notified each time I make more informative beekeeping videos. Now let's get back to this video. Now, another big tip on finding eggs. Most beekeepers, not all, but I found a majority of the beekeepers are at the age where they can no longer see up close. Now, you can change that by using a big magnifying glass. Look at that. I mean, you know, you got to be able to see the eggs, so it may help you to take a gigantic magnifying glass into the field and start looking down into the cells to see if you see eggs. That's kind of scary, isn't it? And so another thing that you can do, if it kind of works out in your bee suit, is that you can buy one of these jeweler glasses, magnifying glasses. And I love this one. Oh my gosh, I wear this all the time. Not in front of people because it's pink. But around the shop, around my day of activity, I'm wearing this all the time, whether it's beekeeping or looking at a tiny little serial number. Can they print serial numbers on items any smaller? Can they really? You're on the phone with tech support. Yeah. I've got a problem with this piece of electronics. Well, what's the serial number? Let me look. And all you see is this little white line. And I'm like, hang on a minute. You know, and you put these on, right? And you go, okay, serial number is 1, 4. Well, this might work well for you. Now, you can buy these really cheap. I'll leave some links. I always have links to products that I talk about down in my description of the video. So look under the description here and I'll have some links. There's several you can buy, but this is just a really inexpensive plastic one. Why I have a pink one, I have no idea. I did buy it years ago. And it's lasted really well. Now this one has 2 different magnifications. See how I'm flipping this? You know, so there's one that's going to be not so close up, and then you crank it down here and oh my gosh, it's really close up. And I love wearing this. And I think I can put my bee suit on. I've never used it in the hive, or in my bee suit, but I think, yeah, it depends on what kind of veil you have, but I think it'll work. And then you can just flip this up. You can see a little bit not so close, flip that down, see really close. I'm telling you people, you know, if you're challenged, if you have a little bit of beekeeping challenges, you know, there's plenty of ways to solve problems. And that's one of the ways that you know can be a really good beekeeper, because you're really good at problem solving. When I was in Iowa, I made a comment in one of my talks where I said, I can sit down with a prospective beekeeper and in 3 minutes tell them you should not be a beekeeper or you should be a beekeeper. And that's all I said. At the conclusion of my talk, somebody said, hey, I want to circle back. What do you use in your test to determine if somebody is a beekeeper, can be a good beekeeper or not? And I said, problem solving and the resiliency of being able to solve a problem. Have you met people, maybe you're one of these people, that you start to solve a problem, your first 2 or 3 tries doesn't work, and you're like, okay, I'm done, I'm out of here. That's frustrating, I can't do it. But then there's other people that after 20 tries, they're like, I'm gonna figure this out. This is kind of fun. I've 19 times it doesn't work, but I'm gonna solve this problem. So if you're a problem solver, a person that solves problems, then you can become a really good beekeeper because every beehive has problems, and problems seeing the eggs can be solved with things like this. Now, the next thing, I'm looking at my notes over here. The next thing is sometimes you got to walk away. I don't mean desert what you're doing. I'm talking about take the frame that you're on and walk away from the hive. A lot of people work bees, they work the frame right over the hive, which I always say is a good thing to do in case your queen falls off. She'll fall back into the hive. Aha, another light bulb went off, another tip that is just like, wait, what did he say? Back up. Yeah, when you pick a frame up that the queen could be on, make sure you keep it over the box, the open box, at least long enough for all the bees to go, oh, we're in a different configuration. Hang on, hold on to me, I got you. And they pull each other back onto the frame. Hold it over there long enough, and especially when you begin tilting it, make sure you're over the frame, over the box. But when you get to the place where you got to see better, like get the sun back behind your back, then you can walk away knowing the bees have a pretty good grip. The queen's not going to fall off. But walking away will do a couple of things. You can position yourself with the sun behind your back, shining over you down into the cells. That'll help you see. The second thing is getting further away from the hive sometimes eliminates some of the bees being cranky and bothering you while you're trying to see. Now, the final tip is I like taking out my cell phone, which I think I can do. Yep, there it is. And I will sometimes take a picture of a frame. Now, you don't have to wait, go back to your computer and all that. All you have to do, if you're knowledgeable of cell phones, and I'm sure that 99.9% of you know how to do this, you bring the picture up and you use your fingers to spread out the picture that's zooming in on it, right? Whoop, and then you can see down in the cells, oh my gosh, I got eggs, or you can look closely, no eggs there. So using your cell phone in the field, taking pictures, and then just stepping back and looking real quick is brilliant. Oh my gosh, there's so many good tips. So there's no reason anymore. David Burns is here to help you guys overcome what I think is a #1 frustration. The challenge of beekeeping is I can't find the eggs anymore. I'm so mad about that. Now, I want you to leave some comments. Some of you probably have some more tips that help you find eggs, and I want you to leave those in the comment below because I learn from you, you learn from me, and I appreciate it. It'll help other people who read comments to hear what you're using to help you see the eggs, to evaluate how well your queen is doing. Now, I promised I would let you know the second most challenging, frustrating thing and some tips that I have for that one, and that's going to be a big help too. It is finding your queen. How do you find your queen? I want to share with you guys right here in this video all the tips and techniques I use to find my queens. Check it out right here. See you over there.